Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I have my day 588 roster review. This is something that I do by popular request. I've done this pretty much every month for several months here, and the purpose of this video is to give you a sense of what I've been working on my roster, why I'm building certain characters, why I'm not building other characters, the progress I'm making, and why I'm making certain decisions. This is not a flex video. There's nothing to be proud of here. I'm not trying to impress you or anything like that. The purpose of this is for you to see the way in which I make decisions and for that to help you make decisions for your own roster. I don't really believe in one-size-fits-all advice. There's certainly some things that are always a bad idea or always a good idea. Everyone should build Kestrel up, for example. But a lot of things depend on your situation. How far along you are in the game. Are you a new player or a veteran? Are you free to play? Are you wailing out? Do you focus on raids? Are you really into war? What kind of alliance you're in and what their requirements are? There's a lot of factors. So hopefully this, what I do can help you get a sense for the decisions that I'm making and help you make choices for your own. And so I'll just say this as a starting point. I try to do these about every 30 days or so. So this is a day 588. My last one was 552, so it's been 36 days. And in that time, you can see the increase here. My last roster review, I was 16.8 million TCP. Now I'm at 18.5 million. So that's a massive increase. That's 1.7 million, much higher than before. So before, the last time I was essentially, holding, I was spending, I think I said in the last video, I was spending most of my gold on gear. I was very careful about doing that. And now I've been spending a lot of gear and upgrading and also Blue ISO to upgrade my roster. And I've done that for a couple of reasons. All right. So first thing I will just say is, for the most part, the main upgrades I've been making, and the biggest difference from last month is Weapon X. You can just see Weapon X here. I brought up all these characters. I basically maxed them out. And I think that's a very significant increase in my roster. But I've also been spending, I'm generally not trying to spend orange gear on my roster. I'm trying to save my orange gear because you need orange gear to take characters up to teal. So, for example, to get her to tier 16, you actually need a lot of orange pieces, you see? So, quite a few, right? You need some teal, but you need a lot of orange. And so I guess what I would just say is that, you still should be careful if you're somebody who's far along in the game like I am about, what characters you're upgrading your orange gear on, because you may want to upgrade the characters you use the most to gear tier 16. But I have been making some upgrades, and one big reason why is the war changes. And, the war changes, I think, I've had a very significant impact on alliances because and players, because they are basically forcing players to spend resources to go. You have now, instead of 8 defense teams, you have 10. And that means everyone gets more attacks. So you're expected to do more attacks. I'm expected to be attacking, let's say, 11 times instead of 9, that sort of thing. And I'm expected to be placing 10 defenses instead of 8. So I've had to, because I'm not only a player who cares about war, but I'm the war captain for my alliance. I've had to build up some additional teams. In addition, I've had to build up some raid teams. I'm going to talk about that. I've also put Blue ISO on a lot of characters because we've been rating 2.3, close to 100% on a lot of days. Mostly, 80, 90%. And so we had been doing 1.1 at 100% for a long time. So I've got a lot of Blue ISO. And that I've been starting to use it more liberally. So I'm going to go through team by team with you, and we can talk about exactly what I did. So first of all, as you could see here, really ignoring teams like AIM, not important, even with more war slots. As Guardians, Not doing anything here. I did bring Hela to level 3 blue. I had 2 blue on her from back in 1.1 when I was using her in raids. Since I have new warriors, I don't need her in raids, but I use her for Hela naturals in war, so I brought her up to level 3 blue ISO. And that's just because I have a lot. I would not recommend most people doing that. I have not brought her to gear tier 15 because I actually have more blue ISO than I have gear tier 15 at this, or orange gear at this point. Astonishing X-Men, you're going to see massive upgrades from the last video. First of all, I put blue ISO on the entire team. I think in my last video, I only had blue ISO on Bishop. In my last video, Jubilee and Beast were only gear tier 14. Iceman and Kitty Pryde were gear tier 13. And I liked having them at low health because when their health went low, Jubilee would give, when their health would get low, Jubilee would give Beast speed bar and ability energy. And then, Iceman revives and Kitty gets stealth, so I thought it was okay. But as it turns out, to be very blunt, when I took them into Doom 2.3, into difficulty 3 in Doom 2, they were getting rolled, and I was losing them too often. So this team does very well. 3 at gear tier 15, 2 at gear tier 14, all level 3 ISO, they're doing fine. And I still have one of the smallest Astonishing X-Men teams in my alliance. A lot of people have maxed out a lot of T4s and so on. Definitely a team that you need to have big if you're going to be using them in Doom 2.3. I've done nothing with the Black Order at all. I have blue ISO on Thanos and Ebony Maw, and I have for a while. Eventually want to get blue ISO at least on Cull Obsidian, but I'm not really high on that. Investing in that team is more just a war offense team for me at this point. Brotherhood, I did actually put blue ISO on Blob because I think that having him large really can help the team. I haven't put more T4s in this team, but that's something I'll do over time as I get extra T4s, just because this team remains useful in war years after their release. Fantastic Four is one of the biggest transformations that I made for war. If you see here, I went, Invisible Woman was already up because I used her when I was racing in DD4. But Thing was gear tier 12. Mr. Fantastic was gear tier 12. I brought Mr. Fantastic to gear tier 13. I brought Thing to gear tier 14. And then I brought Namor. So my Namor was gear tier 12. And you'll see now Namor is... where are you, Namor? Namor is now gear tier 14. It went from 12 to 14. And then I brought Ultron from gear tier 13 to gear tier 14, and I put some red stars on him because I think you saw in the last video I had maxed out the stars on red stars on Ultimus, and so I went to Ultron just when I hit dark credit caps, and he's fine. I don't really use him but in raids, but in war, in the Fantastic Four Tron team. So what I'm basically using is Fantastic Four, and then I drop Torch, and I throw in, you have Namor as the 5th, and you throw in Ultron here, and they're okay. I mean, they're not an important team, but they're a team, a team I can use. Guardians, I had brought Drax up to gear tier 14. And that was just purely for war. He's a sort of plug-and-play character for war that has value. I kind of use, I use him in every war, kind of just like I use Ultron, Namor. These sort of plug-and-play single characters you can throw in. Hand, I did nothing. I actually, I did nothing with. We'll talk about Electro when we get to Shadowland. Heroes for Hire were already pretty maxed out, so that hasn't changed. The ISO is set up the way that I had set it up in my video about building Heroes for Hire, which you can reference. It's in my channel. I have an infographic on that as well. Hydra I built up quite a bit. This was another part of the war changes. So I took Hydra Sniper from gear tier 12 to gear tier 14. I took Red Skull from gear tier 13 to gear tier 14. And then Winter Soldier was gear tier 13. And I took him to gear tier 14 because I needed to for the event anyways, right? For the Omega Red event. So that was a pretty big upgrade there. Infinity Watch, I bought the 6th red star on Adam Warlock because I had the gold promos. I'd gotten a bunch from that recent Wolverine event, whatever it was called. And so now I kind of have 6 on everybody except the 7 on Gamora. Invest in this team. That Adam Warlock investment, I figured, hey, he is useful for me in Mystic raids. I'm using him all the time. Now I am less enthusiastic about that investment, even less enthusiastic about that investment because of Dormammu coming out. I'm not sure he's going to even stay on the Mystic rating team. And I think this team is sort of on the way out with Dormammu. I think he's going to shake up the arena. So it's fine for now. But only a sort of investment I'd make if you had a lot of gold promos, which I happen to have extra. Inhumans, I had already brought up Crystal to Gear Tier 14, I think, in the last video. Because sometimes I'd use her with these 2 against Heroes for Hire to clean up when Infinity Watch left 1 or 2 up. Here, I still haven't invested in the rest of them. I think that's a team that even now wouldn't invest heavily in. Kree, as you can see, no dice here. Haven't changed my investment in this team at all yet, although Ultimus and Korath are useful in mercenaries. You'll see my mercenaries, I did pull a 7 red star on Merc Riotguard, but still haven't built him up. I just think this is a team on the way down. The way to improve this team would be for me to take put Ultimus and Korath, but I just don't want to spend that additional investment at this point. It's trying to be very strategic. If you look, and see where my where my catalysts are, you can compare to the last video. I'm only now at 99,000. I was at, I think, 14,000 or something in the prior video. So very, very significant expenditure this month, which is what generated that TCP increase, bloat, whatever you want to call it. My Marauder team, of course, got stronger just because of Sabretooth. Otherwise, I really haven't changed this team. It's where it was last month. And then New Warriors, they're really brought up. So I did buy the 6th red star on Deathpool, and I got Dagger and Cloak. Dagger 7 red star, Cloak is 6 red star, and they're all maxed out. I generally do that for the new teams for content creation purposes in any event. And then here, Power Armor stayed the same. Haven't touched that team at all, even though Falcon can have some standalone value. And then Pimtech, I've done nothing with this team. Very unimportant outside of Gamma Ray, in my opinion. Shield, done nothing with this team. Another team that I don't think is worth investing in, really, on its own. Secret Avengers, I did buy the 6th red star on Sharon Carter. That was another one where I had the gold promos. Might as well use them, that sort of thing. Not something that I would do if you didn't have a ton of gold promos or weren't really relying on her. Shadowland is a team I invested more heavily in. So if you look in the last video, I had Daredevil and Elektra Gear Tier 13. I brought both of them up to Gear Tier 14. And then I also put the passive on Elektra. And the reason I did that is I think that it has value with putting Evade and Stealth on the adjacent allies. That means now I've got her with Night Nurse and White Tiger next to her so that they're not dying on the opening jump. And it gives me a little bit of extra wiggle room so I don't have an early death and I get a little more damage. I've also put, I think in the last video, I only had Blue ISO and White Tiger, and then I did it on the whole team. Because this team is becoming increasingly important in war. I actually find it's interesting as time's gone on. I think they matter more because they're so fast, with Hanger Up in particular. Sinister Six really haven't done much here. I think I had already last month brought Swarm and Elektra up to level 85. This is a team that, is useful in war. It definitely is more useful than people realize. The characters to focus on are Doc Ock, Swarm, and Electro. Rhino has standalone value to prevent blind from impacting your team. Supernatural is roughly where they were before. This is, I think, where they were last month. I use these 4 with Hela, who you've already seen. I've done videos on that in the past, Hela Natural. Symbiose, I really haven't done anything with. This team still does fine. I still have these two gear tier 14. I think I brought these three up to level 85, but other than that, this team is doing fine. I already had Blue ISO on them last patch. That was one of the early teams I did because I was struggling without them in 1.1. Uncanny X-Men, this team's a lot better with Wolverine, but that's short-lived, right? He's going to have the Weapon X team soon. Otherwise, I've done nothing with this team. Beast is really on the other team there. Wakanda, done nothing with this team. I got a 6 red star on Okoye, which makes her not much less worthless than she already was. Wave 1 Avengers, I've done nothing there. Team that really came and went in terms of its importance. X Factor, I did put Blue ISO on the rest of the team. I already had it on long shot early on. So I got Blue ISO on this team. It's a very important war offense team, often used to defeat Doom teams. And then X-Force, I did put Blue ISO on Negasonic and X-23, but I still have them at Gear Tier 14. The rest of the team I haven't touched. They're still Gear Tier 13. I really think that team's a lot about those two members. Young Avengers have not really done much of anything there except put Gear Tier 14 on Squirrel Girl. She had been Gear Tier 12 just because she's a standalone character I'll use in war. And so that gives you a sense of a lot. You can see that the impact, that's why Scopely did this. They increased the war rooms to force people like me to invest in teams that are old. Ordinarily I would never invest in Fantastic Four, never invest in Squirrel Girl with Drax, whatever. But, these were characters that I needed in the short run. Ultron, Namor. You needed these characters up in the short run to compete because rosters needed to be wider. And so I had built my roster very efficiently for having just 9 attack teams and 8 defense teams. But when that went up, then so did my roster. In terms of T4s, I've been really focusing a lot on the new characters, as you've been seeing on my videos. Been doing T4s primarily there. I did tell you about the one T4 I did on Shadowland. I have done some T4s I should mention on X-Men. You can see, for example, now I've got, the Beast passive here for resistance. I have, for example, I did the Iceman passive, which is nice for reducing armor and damage for enemies, so it's slow. This one is one I had done already last month, getting stealth for 2 turns. So, in prior videos, I had very few T4s in this team, and now I have a little bit more. I have all 3 of these here. So definitely, have put more of an investment there because they're an important raid team. For most players, I still think focusing on raid makes a lot of sense. But war is a very fun element of the game. And as you progress in the game, it becomes harder and harder. If you get further and further into the end game, it can be hard to find an alliance that is not interested in your war performance as well. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. If you have any comments, questions, anger, whatever, you want to get mad at me, you can put it in the comments below. Or you can go to my Discord. That's linked below as well. You can also check out my Twitch stream. That is linked below too.